Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is episode 4 of the LCK Discord podcast. I am Jason, and here I have special guest Mono, as well as Bertz and Cho. So, hello, everybody.
Hello.
Yellow.
Sorry, one thing there. All right, so today we are going to be going over, first off, how the play-in stage went, as well as the groups, our predictions on that, how things went throughout the knockout stage, and as well our thoughts about going into the world's actual drafting, and maybe our predictions for there as well. So, first off the side, for playing groups. So what were you guys' overall thought of the groups as a whole?
I'll go first, I guess. I'm not surprised by the results. WE had pretty free group, honestly. Fnatic, I'm more shocked that they dropped the game. Cloud9, not surprised, didn't drop one. FB doing so. Sorry, not F. Is that? Yeah. The
They're
Turkish
short from
football team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised they did as well as they did, actually. I didn't think it'd do as well with that move. I thought the lack of synergy might really mess with them, and the fact that I think their jungler is a Crash, I think it was.
Crash, yeah.
Crash.
Yeah. From what I'm aware, he speaks little to no English, from what I was told.
He played a split
So
in LSPL, so he probably knows a bit.
So yeah, maybe a tiny bit, but as I said, I was surprised how well we did. But I'm not surprised by who got out really.
If we go into,
What about you, Jason? What do you think of the plans?
I predicted that I thought Gambit was gonna be a scary team, and that was scary because how bad their gameplay was, not really because of them as a threat. I was excited to see Fenerbahce play, and I don't remember in the podcast if we knew that Crash was gonna be an emergency sub or not. But overall, I was more excited because I am a fan of Longshu for the last 2 years. So it was pretty cool seeing Frozen and Crash play together again. Fnatic looked really bad in the group stage, and then I was really surprised. They did the first game they won against Young Generation. They looked honestly like they were really bad, and then the second game they just against them was pretty brutal as well. To be honest, they lost, so it was pretty also bad quality. But they clearly fixed it up in the later stages of the groups. But for group A, it was pretty basic. It was pretty obvious. I thought Lion did better than I thought they were going to, but they didn't really. They had a hardest group for sure. And then Cloud9. I actually thought they looked the best out of any team in the group stages.
Yeah, I would say Cloud9 was probably Cloud9 WE were pretty up clean in terms of everything they did. They didn't drop anything and looked fairly strong in all of their games.
World Elite had some really odd early games. I definitely predicted them to be the strongest coming into this, and
really yeah,
Cloud9. See, he was 0-4 at 9 minutes, and they still won the game in 24 minutes. So that was a lot of dominance I wasn't expecting. But what about you guys? AJ, what do you think, Mono?
Well, I think the plane stage was pretty underwhelming, but it was kind of a cool concept in general. I was kind of disappointed that Fnatic, they didn't look bad as in they suck, but they just never looked impressive as a team. I thought maybe for a couple games or whoever was the easiest team in their group, they were able to easily win against them both times. But the other ones, a lot of their problems kind of relied on their ability to pressure on the map mid game, and that's where they kind of faltered. But in general, I thought Fnatic was probably the best team in that group, and Cloud9 WE looked really good. I thought. I mean, you're right about the early games, but I think WE was playing around with a few things that weren't necessarily their comfort or necessarily their best comps they're trying to save or something. But I was disappointed that Leon didn't do any better. When I found out they were the best team in Mexico or LAN, when I found out that, I realized that a lot of their players are actually challenger in NA solo queue. Like Adi, during the before he left for China, was rank 29 or something like that on the NA solo queue ladder. And I know like that doesn't necessarily mean they're great, but as a team, but I thought they put up some good performances, especially against WE. But they couldn't come out on top. So I thought it was a cool idea, though. It was a cool idea to start Worlds. It just kind of flowed slowly.
I thought like your point about how World Elite was not afraid to try different things. I think they were the only team to really pull out a zero jungle. I think Contracts played it once
Yeah,
too.
that it's Contracts and
Condi were the only
two
two
or
people
three
that played it,
times.
and as well, World Elite were flexing like between Zero and what's their other sub? Zero and
Ben.
pardon?
Ben.
Ben. Yeah, I couldn't remember
Ben.
spacing there, but that was pretty cool too to see like they're actually like taking us the most seriously. It seemed almost. What about you, Cho? What was your overall reaction?
Like the plans were a bit meaningless, honestly, which we'll touch on a bit later. Like overall, the tournament went about as well as you'd expect. Like there were really no upsets, apart from like a one best of one or so. Yeah, expected results. I was impressed by certain teams. We'll get to that later, like in each group. But yeah, overall, yeah, as Mono said, it was a cool idea that Riot did.
Okay. All right. Let's see here.
I mean, just to add one more point to that one, I think like also that's a huge viewership
Yep.
boost for Riot because now that's Worlds, it's like we're gonna watch it because it's Worlds, and also before like they had the international wildcard tournament.
Yeah,
And I don't think anyone was
I
really
never
watching
watched
that.
Wildcard Tournament.
Yeah, it had like 30k tournaments on a good 30k viewers on a good day.
Yeah, so there you go. They solved that problem right there.
One thing I'm kind of. Do you think they'll do another play-in stage next year? Like,
Yeah, probably.
Do you think
sure.
so? Yeah.
I mean, it worked out pretty well at MSI. It's also like a good way to introduce like the big regions to the smaller region teams, and I think it's a good idea that it's only like one team that gets to go from each minor region, because then, I mean, like we don't really know if these teams are capable of like competing with like the really good Western teams, and when we introduce them like just one, like the best team from that region to the I don't know NA's number 3, Europe's number 3 seed, then we kind of can see the differences between the like regions and stuff like that. But it's kind of all based on just one team, so it doesn't like speak for the whole region itself necessarily, but it gives us like an idea.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to say. Like a large majority of people were super excited about Gambit going into this. They're like, there's no way. Like,
Yeah,
I think Gambit's gonna be like a huge threat. They like really strong. Last year M19, well, it was Apples Knox Luna looked so good at Worlds, and then they came and they just like were really really bad, and that was kind of like a reality check almost. Like you can't always live in it. Like just because they're dominating their region, their overall region could be pretty weak. Like I think they still play it. Like even though they play in the CIS, I'm pretty sure they all play on the US server.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So you think they'd be getting like a good amount of practice since it is one of the biggest servers. Like other than Korea, it's the biggest server, right? So
And I mean, like I was also like thinking, because usually it's not solo queue where these guys like get practice as a team, but if they're scrimming on the same tournament realm,
Yeah.
server, then ideally they would be able to scrim like I don't know, like go to EU teams, because I know Team Liquid, they used to scrim Leon or different versions of that roster because Mexico's not too far away from California in terms of ping.
I'm pretty
They
sure.
probably have like 70.
I'm pretty sure Fnatic said that if they played in the EULCS, they'd be a 5th to 6th place team.
yeah, yeah, Reckler said that in an interview.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting to hear. They definitely did. I wonder if it was like stage jitters or something like that. I thought they definitely performed a lot better, and they were honestly, I think, the worst team at the tournament.
I think overhype really got to them, honestly. It may have been a case of they got into their own heads before they'd even got on the stage. All these people have so many high expectations for us, and kind of Edward seemed to be a bit. Now you could argue he was memeing, but he did seem to be a bit confident going into that, and they got a team seemed to have worked out how Gambit played, because from what I'm aware, they relied a lot on Edward's roaming, and Edward was pretty much hard pushed in every single game that he played. From what I remember. So he couldn't really leave in. So Gambit kind of got fucked by the fact that international bot lanes were better than their own.
Another thing I kind of like, I remember before the tournament, he was like making all these predictions, and then he was like, when the top 20 worlds list came out, which is like already kind of a joke, but he was like, no Gambit players on the list, like what's going on? This is crazy, like we're so good, and then they just kind of fell flat on their face.
Yeah.
So that was like the biggest surprise for me, probably. I predicted that a pool 1 seed wouldn't make it out, but I thought it was gonna be EU or NA. I thought that HK, like going in, people were saying they were better than AHQ. They were probably one of the, if not the best team from the LMS, and them getting second seed to Fenerbahce was actually pretty surprising. I think it was more them underperforming and Fenerbahce overperforming though. It's kind of interesting scenarios, I guess. They did a lot better than I was expecting. I was thinking they'd get second and HK would get first. And then the other two groups I thought were pretty much the exact same as I thought they'd be. What about you guys?
As I said, WE's performance was I was a bit surprised, honestly, but I'm glad that they sort of had some contention in their group. I don't know if they were, obviously playing for full sort of potential, and Conde, obviously, stealing Barons in 2017 has basically kept them quite safe. So we'll see if he goes into Worlds and just steals every Baron, but
there is a possibility too. Gambit just had a harder group. Like they only looked bad because they were playing against like two better regions.
Well, Jan did pretty well, didn't they?
Yeah, the land was probably, other than Fenerbahce, I'd say they were the top performing like emerging region team.
Yeah.
I mean, Team 1 put up a fight. I thought once it got later, I mean, they looked bad the first day, and the second day they made that comeback and eventually won the playoff or the tiebreaker game. But apparently people were saying stuff about Brazil not being great, and it was kind of hard to judge how good compared to whatever planes. What team did they play in the?
They played Fenerbahce.
Knockout round. Yeah, that. And yeah, I thought that was interesting because it was like two minor regions kind of going at it for the wildcard spot instead of like Fnatic or Cloud9 or WWE, so.
It's kind of funny because if you think about it on both teams' perspectives, Fenerbahce was probably excited that they got Team 1, and Team 1 was probably excited they got Fenerbahce.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a unique scenario where they're both happy they got that matchup.
And I mean, they both ended up getting they both got an equal shot at like Worlds in terms of like, any of these teams in general actually got like screen time, quote unquote, versus the international wildcard tournament. So I guess it's kind of like a win for their careers if they choose to stick to their regions or go somewhere else or something like that. Because after this, I'm sure Frozen might get a better offer somewhere, like from maybe not Korea, but China or NA maybe even, or EU.
Did you not hear Fnatic's picking up the mid laner but solo killed Caps from Japan? Or was it Vietnam? I can't remember. Vietnam picking up the mid laner who solo killed him from Vietnam.
Y'all
Generation dude.
Yeah,
no,
picking up him,
Yeah, well, he's way better.
Was it Pluggo?
Pluggo? No, Plugo? No,
Pluggo
it was Null.
Dude.
Well, Null was our mid laner.
Pluggo was the alias, the Rhino one.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Callous Latin gamers. Yeah, they looked really bad. I thought Direwolves looked really bad. Some certain individuals we know predicted them to be second place. I thought they were going to be really, really good. And they ate their shoes. It was pretty sad, honestly.
Well, honestly, Shenfair, cleanest jungler in the tournament, got absolutely bodied by contracts, Pretty.
That was the game
good.
he played Israel against too, right?
No, he played one against Nidalee and he got smashed. He's played Nidalee and the Gargus. Oh, sorry, Gargus and Nidalee. And he got smashed. He was like 3 levels down, I think, at one point. No catch-up XP to save him, There's no catch-up XP to save him when you have no jungle to take. So, yeah, it was. He got pretty shit on, honestly. Direwolves had actually some pretty strong like early game. If you know what I mean, like their laning was pretty decent, but after that they were just bad. That's the only way I can put it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I was surprised, honestly. Like I'd been hyped up by a certain OCE person in this Discord that they would come second in their group. Then to see them get utterly smashed was pretty disappointing. I'm not gonna lie.
I loved it.
Yeah, I secretly had a passion for it. I watched that stream back before I go to sleep.
Nothing's more than excited than watching people's dreams get crushed.
Yeah, yeah.
No, but actually, I thought they could do well. They did okay at the play-ins for MSI, but I don't know what happened here. I think they had a hard group as well.
I don't think there's any group you could have stuck them in that would have got out of. Honestly, like
Maybe if
um,
they had Gambit and Rampage.
maybe that would make it possible.
Yeah.
But Gambit would find some way to beat them. I'm sure if I could find something to tilt an OC middler.
Yeah, that Vlad pick was really strange. Apparently,
Yeah,
it's like one of his like signature picks, but he did not look. He looked nervous or something. Like I don't know.
Yeah, if a pressure got them.
What were your overall impressions, Joe?
On what?
There was
Like
being
Direwolves, or what teams impressed you the most? Which team impressed you the least?
I think you people are shitting a bit too hard on Direwolves, honestly. Like, if you compare what OC did in the previous tournaments, like these wildcard tournaments, they look like a turd, and now they look like a slightly more polished turd. So that's like a little bit of an improvement. I think that they looked good. Like, people ignored that they had like a lead versus C9 and versus one, in the last game versus one. Like, I think a lot of these wildcard teams have a problem with closing out games. They just don't know how to. Like, their Baron setup is usually pretty bad, or they just do really stupid mistakes that result in throws. I think the Direwolves, honestly, had they been calmer versus C9 and one, they would have gotten out as a second seed. I don't think that they have been really as bad as you guys are saying, in my opinion.
See, I think they're strong and early, but I don't think after that it just felt like when we didn't really have any control.
Yeah.
They couldn't really transition any of the leads that they got in the early game. If you know what I mean, it felt like they were just winning based off the fact that they played slightly better. If you know what I mean, or got a better gank off, or something like that. I didn't really see like any map rotations or anything like that. What would give me the impression this team is so much better than that. If you know what I mean, like Cloud9 came back, as you said, just simply because Direwolves played bad, if you know what I mean. So
At the same
yeah.
point, though, if a team plays that bad, they turn it around and won in 24 minutes. Like, if you go from, like, I think it was a 6K gold deficit, or 5K, it was, like, a decent amount, and win in, like, less than 10 minutes, that's you doing something seriously wrong rather than another region being a lot better.
I mean, for me, I think that the reason why a lot of like the tournament was kind of underwhelming in terms of like watching these teams and determining how if they're, good or not or stronger than other like mid LCS teams or low LCS teams. A lot of it was this world's meta, which I've gone on many long tangents about with Jason and other friends about how I can't stand watching this meta. But because it's very one is very bot lane focused or centered around certain compositions that really need to peel for the AD carry, like Cog Lulu, Varus, and we're seeing Janna too, and not a whole lot of Soraka, but we also have like Rakan and Zaya and also Alistar. It's just like a lot of like bot centric comps, and when it comes to making plays towards the mid and late game, a lot of like the macro game isn't as easy as to pull off as in like get your top laner ahead, because we're mostly seeing like Cho'Gath, Shen, Maokai. We see the occasional Camille here and there, but mostly you're seeing a Sejuani, a Maokai, and the Cho'Gath every game, almost, or at least almost every game. So it's kind of hard to determine like how good these teams are, because this meta feels very slow, like macro focus, in terms of you needing to play the compositions very carefully in order for your late game AD carry to really carry you ahead. And then usually mid lanes, there's not people aren't tending to pick like straight up losing matchups, or not that often. It's usually like Syndra, Corki, Oriana, and you still see Talia. So in my opinion, I think that a lot of these teams weren't able to perform as well because they didn't have as clean macro games as the bigger teams. So it was kind of hard to see which team could really shine because I thought the meta really restricted a lot of what these teams could do in the tournament. So I kind of think that the meta doesn't really help them either.
Mm-hmm.
There was 2 pentakills, right? Like White Lotus and Padon, right?
Both on Kog'Maw.
Both on Kog'Maw.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh no, Callista.
One
It was
was
Callista. It's Callista and Kog'Maw. Yeah, White Lotus was on
Right.
Callista, and the other one was Coglulu. Yeah. I thought that ADC was, again, I think the biggest thing about this world is going to be how prevalent ADC is. I think the team with the better AD carry ultimately will end up, well, not necessarily the better AD carry, the better bot lane, as well as the better front line will pretty clearly win matchups. There were some situations where Patton literally just Tristana jumped into 4 people and died for no reason, but they still won due to him being a lot better than the other AD carry. Which is pretty surprising when you say that.
I can relate to that, honestly, you know.
It'll be interesting to see what teams like Praying Gorilla or like other like Uzi and Mako. Oh no Uzi. Who plays support for Uzi?
Mink.
Yeah, and then Mako with who's the new
iBoy.
iBoy. I know it's something boy. I was trying to remember. It'd be interesting to see like really like aggressive bot lanes, what they do with the Ardent Sensor meta. Like I don't think I can see Gorilla playing Janna every game.
I mean, are you telling me Reckless isn't going to solo carry his team to the finals? Hello? He's just been MVP?
I said good 80 carries.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't think, like, and that's actually one thing that Fnatic, I think, will have going for them, kind of jumping into the later part of the tournament, is even though Caps was playing pretty bad in the knockout, not necessarily the knockout stage, but more in the group stage of the play-in bracket, I don't think that'll be as big of a deal against bigger teams, because they'll be able to win through bot lane, theoretically.
Yeah. Weaker bot lanes will definitely struggle. There's a lot of bot lane talent in this year's Worlds, I think, personally. You know, we've got WE's bot lane with Mystic and Zero, yeah, or
Zero
Ben.
and Ben, yeah.
Yeah, which are pretty stable bot lane, if you know what I mean. We've got Orange, we've got Uzi. If you want to mean, we've got Double Lift. You know, you've got some decent talent around here this year. You've obviously got Bang and Wolf. You know, it could be a very interesting it could be a very interesting Worlds. You know, we get to see Praying Gorilla versus Cody Sun and Oi, don't we? I think they're in the same group, aren't they?
They're in Group B.
Aren't the same group, but yeah, okay. You get to see Cody Sun and Ollie versus Praying Gorilla. That should be a pretty interesting bot lane, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
Basically, of who can get their support room more.
So let's just kind of go right into the knockout bracket really quick and just say what we thought about those, so we can kind of move into the more heated topic, more interesting topic about the world's groups and how the draw went. So there was 4 knockout series, obviously, and it was Cloud9 versus Lion, Fnatic versus Hong Kong Attitude, Fenerbahce versus One Gaming, and then Team Wii versus Young Generation. So I guess just in order, we'll just go matchup to matchup, and then just move away around. So Cloud9 versus Lion. For me personally, I thought that Lion looked good in Game 2. I thought they were going to win Game 2. I was actually pretty surprised they lost. But I definitely thought they showed that they aren't just like a slump team. And that was probably the hardest game Cloud9 had throughout the entire play-in tournament was Game 2 for against Lion. Other than that, it was a 3-0. It's pretty, not a whole lot to say other than that.
All of them were 3-0s, I think,
except for Fenerbahce versus One.
Yeah, and that was 3-1, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought they were kind of boring. I kind of just skimmed the highlights of those. I stayed up for one, but wasn't really watching it that intently. So, I mean, big team versus not big team. Kind of the end of it. For me, at least.
Honestly, I didn't think Cloud9 would even drop. I didn't even think it would be close, honestly. Like, I thought by the time sort of The knockout stages rolled around, Cloud9 would have just basically worked out how Lion played and just absolutely shot them for 3 games. With how well we played in groups. So the 3-0 wasn't really a surprise to me. How much they struggled in game 2 did surprise me a bit. But I actually had hope for Lion to win that game. But obviously we didn't pull through.
And Cho, what do you think about C9 versus Line?
I thought C9 could maybe drop one game, and they almost did, which is the second one. But yeah, Lion just threw really hard, which is a bit unlucky for them.
I think it was kind of like what you were saying earlier about how the wildcard, emerging regions are not as familiar with how closing out games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty prevalent in game 2. Sorry to kind of cut you off there.
No, sorry, it's alright. Like, the first game they had, like, I think stage jitters a little bit. The second game they played well, but they threw. In the third game they just tilted. Like, they picked Zach, I believe, when Janna was open, and that's, like, asking to get cucked pretty hard. I think Lion played better than expected, in a way. Like, I think they're just an unlucky team. Because, like, during play-ins for MSI, they had to play Gigabyte Marines. or, like, did they? Or am I trolling?
I think
trolling.
they did. I think you're right. They lost to Gigabyte Marines in the finals.
Yeah.
Or what moved him into play like TSM and was it Flash Wolves? Yeah.
Flash Wolves,
yeah.
So, like, they always get very close, but they just get a really bad draw, which sucks for them. But I think that Roster has potential. They should definitely stick together, and maybe, like, next play-in for MSI, they can do something and finally qualify.
I thought they had the hardest group, too. Like, Group A, like, World Elite are probably the best teams, so like, having that would be kind of... I thought they were going to come third, so they definitely overperformed for me. Fnatic versus Hong Kong Attitude. I thought Hong Kong Attitude was going to win. I thought Fnatic looked really bad in groups, and I was very wrong. They definitely cleaned up whatever they were doing. Caps looked a lot better. I thought that LMS was a better region than the GPL, and Fnatic slapped them, so it was pretty boring. Again.
Yeah.
Like,
Fnatic versus KHK. I actually watched the series. I expected the KHK to win the game. At least 2. I wanted to see it go to 5 games. But it just didn't happen. It got 3-0'd and I was pretty disappointed, I'm not going to lie. I wanted to see Fnatic at least challenged, if you know what I mean. Like, put under some sort of pressure. But
I mean, they kind of did. Game 1, Fnatic was behind by quite a bit in the early to mid game.
They were, but like game 2 and game 3, it was...
Yeah, that was a stop.
It was a fucking slaughter, if you know what I mean.
I think like in games 2 and 3, like Caps got like a lot of kills early on, and that was basically that. Because I think Caps is like really good if you give him an advantage.
Yeah, he snowballs his leads pretty well, and he can
Yeah.
transition the other games pretty good as well. His roams are pretty clean, but it's just whenever he doesn't get that help, he sort of struggles a good bit. Honestly, like it's maybe just rookie nerves, but I don't know.
I think that was one of the faults for Fnatic in the group stage, like that game versus YG that they lost. I think that like Broxa should play around mid when mid has an advantageous lane, despite the meta being like win bot lane, win game. I think that like for example that game versus YG, Caps had Syndra into Cassidy and he was like shitting on him, constantly shat on him like really hard. But
he was 20
Broxa was
CS up.
Yeah, almost like Frozen was like 100 CS up versus that mid laner from 1, I think was Marv or something.
Yeah.
But like Broxa never came mid. Like he never really paid much attention to mid. There was like one time where they tried to counter jungle the Wraiths, but they didn't do it properly. They just left. That was really weird. I think that like Fnatic, if they sort out their priorities, like which lanes to play around, and if Jesus stops trolling and actually plays a bit better, because Jesus has like a really bad issue with how to reset properly, how to reset the map, how to roam to mid when he needs to. I think if Fnatic sorts that out, they could be a really strong team.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was pretty expected for me. I thought like they might drop one game, but they didn't. So
Yeah, I hope they would. What about you, AJ?
I mean, I just watched the highlights for this, so I wasn't able to like go in super in depth and who's better or like anything I noticed. So I just figured, just see who gets out, watch any games that were interesting, and I didn't really see any. So just waiting for the group stages to start, to be honest.
Yeah. And then like the next 2 series, like pretty, like Fenerbahce versus 1, definitely the closest series. Fenerbahce still have a lot of stuff to work on. Their bot lane is inconsistent to me. I thought their top laner Tharald was probably their most consistent player in this series, and it definitely does seem like they do miss some notes, probably due to communication. But overall, they were able to secure a spot in Worlds, which is pretty exciting for. I know that's the first time a TCL's ever made it to. Oh no, because Supermassive used to. Yeah, Supermassive. Never mind, I forgot they were from Turkey. Yeah, so they took down Supermassive, who have like last 2 years at least for Worlds have came, and then who was before that? It was Dark Passage.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's it's actually pretty cool to see a different team from a region that's been around for a while. And then we versus Young Generation was just a stomp. I was hoping YG might win, but that did not happen.
Wasn't there a pretty close game at one point? I
there was, and
was
then
like
Condi stole
game two.
Baron twice.
Yeah, Conley stole Baron. Yeah, I remember.
Twice.
That was like horrible.
Yeah.
Fucking trust your Koreans, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Fenerbahce is basically carried by Koreans. It's like playing a low elo tournament and getting like a diamond guy to come smurf. And that's how I feel watching Frozen and Crash play. Like, I think that HKA is honestly a better team than Fenerbahce. It's just that, like, in the group stage, their jungler couldn't smite. Like, Crash stole like 1 or 2 Barons or something, then Frozen stole 1.
Yeah.
Like, they're basically carried by Koreans, and Tal'Darim is like a really good player as well. Their bot lane is serviceable. They do what they need to do. Japone is a bit interesting, but he doesn't really int all that much. Like, I really like that, like, Varus and Lulu has come into prominence in this tournament ever since. I think the first time it was pulled out, it was versus Fnatic when YG pulled it out. That's a really strong combo. Bot lane Varus and Lulu with Ignite and Thunderlords. It gives a lot of pressure in lane, and you can do a lot of damage in a very short amount of time. I think one looked good in the early game in this tournament. Like, Fenerbahce's early game was really bad versus in this series. And I think versus a better team, that's really exploitable. I think they will just get punished by teams like RNG, for example, have a really good early game.
Yeah.
Like game 3, I think it was game 3 or game 2, where like one kept getting kills, kept getting this huge lead, but this gold never left anywhere. Like, it was really close. And they look at the CS, and like Tal'Darim and Frozen had like really good CSing numbers. I think that was the game where Frozen had like 100 CS up or something on Marth, or was it Brewster? I don't know. And then like they snuck a Baron in game 2. One snuck a really good Baron, then they fucked up the second Baron. Like, these Walker teams just don't know how to set up Baron. Like, the worst one was when YG tried to do Baron versus WE when Condi stole it as Ezreal. I'm like, you have a Lee Sin, why don't you just kick the guy out? Why don't you try to go over and kill the Ezreal or something, or like get deep vision? It was just really bad. These Walker teams just do not know how to set up Baron properly.
Yeah.
And then like game 3, I think that was the game where Frozen got Aurelion Soul.
Oh, yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, that's all I have to say. He basically solo carried that game. He got like a shitload of kills early on, and that was that. I think one looked better than I thought they would, honestly, because Brazil doesn't seem that strong this year. But yeah, if they just, like most wildcard teams, if they sort out their mid to late game, they could be really good. But it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, probably not.
And then you don't have anything really to say about Wii versus Young Generation?
Sorry, what was that?
You guys have anything to say about Wii versus Young Generation?
Can really only Koreans take off from wildcard regions, it seems, you know, just take the Baron. Just take the Baron, you know. It's Condi give off, Condi take off away, you know. Well, that's overrated.
I thought Condi played really well in the World League Series.
Kind of played really well, especially game 1, where like YG picked up a kill early in the bot lane, but Varus had to flash, and then Condi immediately counter-ganked that lane like 2 or 3 times and got a bunch of kills. Like YG, much like these other wildcard teams, have a really good early game. Like W got punished really hard in the early game, but again, their Barons was horrible. That Baron in game 2 was really fucking bad. They had like Cho Feast, and it was never. I think it was used, but Condi still managed to steal it.
They lost Baron twice with a Cho'Gath.
I think the first time
once.
The first time he didn't have Feast, I'm pretty sure, but the second time is a
don't
bit,
rotate Baron. Like, it's pretty.
Yeah,
like
I mean, like these teams don't understand the concept of Baron baiting. They're just like, they don't know to like set up vision, deny vision, set up vision, and like bait Baron. Don't do it, but bait it. Wait for the team to get into a bad position, then engage on them. They're just like, oh, we just gotta do Baron, and if we lose it, well, that's a bit unlucky. Like YG looked better than I thought they would really. Their early game was really good in game 2, and it was decent in game 3. But like when it comes to WE and these other teams from like the top 3 regions, or the teams from the regions that had like the third pool, like EU, NA, and LMS. I think that like they can afford to be a shitload of kills down in the early game because their macro is just innately better because they play better teams for a longer period of time. So it doesn't matter if they go behind in the early game, like 5 or 6 kills down, their better macro and better objective priority will just always get them the win. But yeah, YG looked good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The loss, but it looked like serviceable, honestly.
It'd be interesting to see because apparently YG got stomped like 3-0 against Gigabit Marines. So it'd be interesting if they actually continue their dominance from what they had at MSI to now. That's kind of like what I took away from YG, even though they lost, was seeing if they're actually able to take games off. Because for Group B in Worlds, although I don't really want to get into this yet, but it's pretty much a battle for second place in my eyes. So it'll be interesting to see what upsets will happen there. Just kind of moving on a little bit. Do you guys think that the play-in stage ended up mattering this year, other than the fact that because we only have 3 Korean teams, 3 Chinese teams, 3 European teams, 3 NA teams, 2 LMS, and 2 wildcards? It's the exact same format we've had for the last 2 or 3 years. 3 years now, because 2013 was different, right? It'd be like, do you guys think they'll continue to do this? Do you think it was a waste of their time? What are your thoughts?
I mean, they should for sure continue to do it for their viewership purposes and to get more revenue on Worlds. And I mean, it's also kind of nice to see what teams are trying to configure with the meta. I mean, I think it's kind of annoying that, like, I would be annoyed if I was Cloud9 or W or Fnatic, because, you know, you're going into Worlds and you're already in kind of difficult, so, you know, you're in so-called difficult groups, kind of going into it when you enter the play-in stage, and then, you know, teams get to see how you play and on the specific patch, and so it already kind of puts you at a disadvantage. But at the same time, it's kind of nice to see the tournament in general compared to, you know, the wildcard tournament last year. So I think I think they should definitely keep going with this. I liked it during MSI as well. It's just, you know, not as fun as when they're the best teams competing.
Wouldn't you think it'd be an incentive for teams not to qualify as a 3rd seed for Worlds? They want to try and push to get first or second, not having to play.
I'm sure all of those teams were trying to do that.
Yeah.
But, you know, things didn't go according to plan. You know, Cloud9 lost to Dig, and
Fnatic lost to
Fnatic.
Misfits.
Yeah, and Fnatic almost had it, and then they lost it. So, or wait, no, I'm thinking.
No, they got knocked out in quarterfinals. They were essentially the exact same as Cloud9.
I was thinking of when they played H2K, but that was the 3rd place.
Yeah.
But yeah, just in general, it's a better system for Riot and for all those minor region teams. But, you know, as you know, any viewer in a major region, you know, I just kind of want to get right up to the group stages. You know, I want to see SKT, EDG, you know, Immortals, Longshu, all that good stuff. Samsung, RNG, like, wow, I'm so excited to see that again. Those games were pretty fun to watch last year. Same group too.
Yeah, and as we said at the start, it's great for like viewer numbers, because previously this wildcard tournament stuff got like 10, 20, 30K viewers on a good day. But now it gets like 250,000 viewers, which is like, oh, hey, that's a big increase.
Like, I like to think of myself as someone who watches a lot of League. Like, I tend to follow 3 major regions, which is that's a lot of hours per week, trying to watch almost every single game. I never watched Wildcard, ever, for the tournament.
I actually used to.
You did? Wow, that's like...
Yeah.
I didn't either.
Yeah, it's like... For someone that watches that many games to not have any interest in watching a wildcard tournament,
it's like going to a zoo and watching monkeys fling shit at each other. That's why I watched the wildcard tournament, because the quality of play was pretty low. You can just kind of point and laugh. At least my region's not like this.
Yeah, that's true.
That's one of the positives, you know.
So,
another positive of the play-in is that World starts quicker, because previously there was like a month-long break between the wildcard tournament and Worlds. So it just allows the tournament to start quicker. It's also good for rookies. For example, like Broxy and Caps for Fnatic, they can get
stage hitters out.
Good exposure. Yeah. So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. I like it as well. I also like to get to see the wildcard teams. I like to get to see like, the different ways of playing, their personalities and such. I think it's very cool. Like Vietnam as well, I think is a really cool region. Gigabyte Marines like really impressed me at MSI, and I'd be very interested in like watching the games, finding out where to find them. So yeah, I said I really enjoy watching them, and I think Rat doing this has been a very good idea because introducing more wildcard teams. Because finally we get to see what the third seed of the LMS is like, for the first time in fucking ever,
Well,
pretty much.
in international, you could always see how they were.
Yeah.
It's not
Oh,
an
in the
English stream.
LMS, yeah. But watching LMS go.
LMS at the same time as Korea most of the time too. So watching like the best region in the world or watching a stream in another language is pretty. It's pretty much a toss up right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move over into the next stage, but I'm just gonna bring up the groups. So in Group A, it was Edward Gaming, SK Telecom, HQ. Group B was Longzhu, Immortals, Gigabyte. Group C was G2, World Never Give Up, Samsung Galaxy. And then Group D was Flash Wolves, Misfits, TSM. And then Cloud9, Fnatic, Fenerbahce, and Team World Elite were drawn in. It was pretty obvious that there was a really high chance that World Elite was going to go into Group D. That I'd say for like for Group A, it should be pretty easy to tell who's going to win. That like through through the teams that were seeded in. I think Group B and Group D are definitely like, it almost is anybody's game. I think it's pretty clear for first place. Oh, sorry. It's pretty clear for first place who's gonna win Group B, in my opinion. But Group C and B Group C and A are definitely the closest, and Group B and D are definitely gonna be the least close. And Group B and D are the closest, and A and C should be the most pronounced for who's gonna win and who's not gonna win. So we're gonna go through and look at all of our pick'ems. So first we'll go with AJ.
All right. Well, first of all, I always suck at this. Whenever it's college basketball season, I always, fuck up the March Madness bracket and stuff like that. Actually, I won the school tournament one year, but regardless of that, I'm always I usually play it pretty safe. I don't really go for upsets. And you know what? I have struggled a little bit when ranking some of these teams because, to be honest, I haven't watched. I only saw LPL finals, so I don't really know how WE's doing besides from watching group stages, or the playing stage. And I haven't followed Gigabyte Marines since MSI, and I don't really know how LMS has fared, but I haven't heard that they're doing too hot, except for maybe Flash Wolves. So for me, I just kind of went with my gut feeling. The Group B, I actually think could be one that people don't really overestimate, because it's kind of obvious since Longzhu beat SKT, they're the best team in the world maybe, but at the same time, it's been a while since we've seen them play. I could actually see like Fnatic or Immortals like taking a game off them, but I still think Longzhu will probably stay at the top of the group. I really don't know Gigabyte Marines too well. They looked good at MSI. They kind of did a lot of cheesy shit, but it worked sometimes. So I think that Fnatic's weaknesses will really kind of shine, and that's why I have Gigabyte over them. But honestly, I think Immortals is solid enough to finish second and at least be able to take 2 off Fnatic and then maybe like 1 off Gigabyte Marines. But I think Longzhu would be the best by far. And then for Group A, I think that's what most people put for their predictions. I just don't see Cloud9 being able to take down SKT twice or once. And EDG, it was kind of hard because they looked like, when I saw them play in the LPL finals, I didn't think they were that great because I think RNG was up 2-0 to start and then they reverse swept. And I could see AHQ being able to take a game off one of EDG or Cloud9, but in my opinion, I think it's really just gonna depend more on who can beat AHQ 2-0, because I think if you beat AHQ 2-0, then you at least are guaranteed a close shot at the second seed, because we really don't know how like I don't really know how confident SKT is going into this tournament. We'll see if they've fixed their mid year slump and whatever they were doing against Longshu in the finals. I still think that SKT will probably make a deep run or semis finals. Even they might even win it again. I'm betting on them. And for Group D, this is probably like my least confident group out of all of them because I think I still don't know where Flash Wolves stand, and I don't know if TSM are going to pull the classic TSM at groups or at Worlds like they normally do. But I actually think TSM is solid enough to at least get a seed and probably be able to take the first seed. Whenever they play a Korean team, I don't see them going any further beyond Group D, if that does happen. I wasn't particularly impressed with Misfits, even though I like Power of Evil a lot, and I think that their team they're pretty well constructed. I just don't think Max Lore is that great of a jungler compared to Karsa or Kandi or Sven. Although I think Sven Skaren is probably pretty close to Max Lore in terms of his play. And then Group C, honestly, it's a toss up because I could see G2 being able to beat RNG a game or two. I'm not totally sold on RNG, but I think Samsung will easily take it. And yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, Pope.
Okay. I have so I'll start with Group A. Pretty much like AHQ are not gonna do well. I don't think they're that strong of a team. They didn't really impress in LMS, and from what I've been told by people, they didn't look that good in LMS during the regular season either. Cloud9 coming off hot off play-ins, honestly. They're pretty good. I think we could beat AHQ without much issue. Maybe take a game off EDG. I don't think we'll beat SKT at all. I think Bang and Wolf will just bend over, sneaky and smoothie most of the time. EDG, Scout and Jensen is a matchup I'm actually really looking forward to, and Scout versus Faker, obviously. Two matchups I'm really looking forward to, and I'm pretty excited for. But yeah, I've stuck SKT to come first, Edward Game to come second, Cloud9 third, and AHQ fourth. As I said, I think I don't think Cloud9 stack up like that well across the map. I could see like some of the better junglers, like maybe even Clearlove, coming and just abusing the shit out of contracts, honestly. But yeah, Group B, I've went Yongzhou, Immortals, Fnatic, and Gigabyte Marines. I know Fnatic had a pretty questionable performance against some of the wildcard teams, but I feel like going into groups will fix some of that and we'll be able to beat Gigabyte Marines. But I feel like putting Pobelter against Caps, Pobelter is just a rock. Like, he'll go even, or he'll win. And Caps doesn't, like, I don't think Fnatic will adjust the issue where we're having, like, they have no pressure mid lane, and he's not getting any help in mid lane. I don't think they'll fix it. And I just think Xmithio or Jungle Broxah, just due to he has significantly more experience. I am buying into the Yongzhou hype train, by the way. I think they actually will not drop a game in groups. I think they'll just destroy every single... Well, they won't destroy. I say probably the closest game will probably be versus Immortals. I can see them sweeping Fnatic and Gigabyte Marines without much issue, and maybe drop one game to Immortals. Immortals second, as I said. I think Xmithy and Pobelter will just body Caps and Broxah, and Gigabyte Marines last, just because they're wildcard and don't really have macro experience to come back into the game or set up barons and stuff, right? And I think most teams will abuse that in groups anyway. Group C, pretty controversial picks here, I stuck G2 first, Samsung Galaxy to come second, RNG third, and whatever rest of team is, I mean,
Fenerbahce?
Yeah, that's her name, yeah.
It's a hard word,
Yeah, I don't know, Now, on the last talk show already, I elevated my reasons why G2 are gonna, come first, but this is a quick cover up. This is a quick cover. Perks is gonna body crown, like he's gonna be fucking wearing him like a fucking crown by the end of it. Brother's gonna be using himself to measure fucking Sven's dick as he fucks him in the ass, and Samsung Galaxy will come second. G2 will go 5-1, and the only game they will lose is to RNG subbing Koro into the top lane. Koro 1, legend, and he'll play Forever Battle Rumble and Tilt Death Spectre. And yeah, so G2 first, Samsung Galaxy second, RNG third, and Turkish team fourth. I actually don't think the Turkish team will win a single game in the group, so I don't. As a realistic prediction, I know Samsung's going to come first, just for reference, but I know it's be up there. But G2 will come second. Like I can't see RNG. I think will have a bit of a questionable time. You know, they need that Chinese team fighting to come through. And in a meta where you just have to play around your ADC, Sven is pretty good at ADC. You know, he has hands, he has a mouse to dodge Nidalee spears. Nidalee's back in meta, problem solved. And on Group D, I have WE, Misfits, Flash Wolves, and TSM. Now, you would think, right, out of all the European teams you place faith in, why would you stick Fnatic, Real Immortals, and stick with Misfits of both Flash Wolves and TSM, right? See, Ignore is going to body the fuck out of Biofrost, right? He's just going to leave lane all the time, get claps in mid. Power of Evil, I think Power of Evil has only ever lost 2 games to Bjergsen in his entire career. Something like it's a statistic like that. And he intends to lose no more. TSM will not win a single game in this group. And if they do, it'll be versus Flash Wolves.
Bold statement.
That I think TSM will come dead last. And that's just because I think Haunter will get smashed by 957. Alfari, I don't think he's that good, but God Max Score, UK shotgun, you know, gonna absolutely fucking bodies Van Skaren, with his Rengar pick, Rengar pocket pick, you know.
That's some bias.
Into Sejuani, yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking cute, you know. Flash Wolves, Carson's gonna int. Maple is Flash Wolves mid laner, isn't he?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maple's gonna be used as fucking syrup. And TSM, as I said, Bjergsen's the main pocket, WS an international choker. He said himself in his video. You know, that's all I need to say. Rapid EU family, continues. You know.
Already. Well, that was interesting.
200 IQ.
Move on to Cho. Alright, Cho, why don't I go through your picks?
Alright, so for Group A, I really like Group A. There's a lot of interesting storylines here. You have the whole Jensen gonna clap Faker, what he said last rows, and then he got wrecked, and now he's back at it once again to get reamed up the ass once more. You also have Scout versus Faker, which is pretty cool because Scout used to be Faker's sub back when he was still on SKT. So that'll be pretty interesting because Scout looked really good in the LPL. So I wonder how he's gonna match up to Faker. And there's also the storyline of Westor versus Faker because that one time he killed Faker on Fizz. When Westor was playing Fizz. That's a storyline, I guess.
Wait, Westor plays Fizz?
Isn't Chile there mid though?
Yeah, but come on, shut up. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I think the Chinese teams are actually really hard to predict because China is actually a really top-heavy region. All their games were close in playoffs. Like, EDG beat IG 3-2, RNG beat WE 3-2, then EDG beat RNG 3-2, then IG beat WE 3-2, then WE beat IG 3-2 throughout the course of playoffs. Yeah, throughout the course of playoffs. Yeah, it's pretty insane. So it's kind of like hard to judge like how good these teams actually are. Like, is IG better than WE or any other team because they kept trading games constantly? It was really close. I think that like for this group, EDG is gonna definitely finish second with SKT first. I think SKT could drop a few games, and that's mainly because due to Huni. I think SKT's topside is a big weakness this tournament. Huni is basically feast or famine. He either does great or he ints. If he doesn't int, Hunint as he's known, if he stops doing that, SKT probably won't even drop a game, but I do think there's a chance that SKT drops like one game. Second team to predict is actually really hard. I do think that EDG should come out ahead, but there's a chance actually that C9 actually squeezes through. Like there's a variability chance here that C9 actually gets the second seed. I think that's mainly because the top side of the map for C9 is really strong. Like Impact will shit on Mouse really hard, and then it's all up to whether or not Clearlove shows up. And if I look at Clearlove's previous international appearances, they're not that good. I think he showed up like one tournament, which was MSI, 2015.
Well.
So there's also like EDG Scout is a great mid laner, but there's like he tends to overextend. If you watch LPL games, he tends to like throw, but trying to 1v1 an opponent without vision, and then he just gets punished. Mako's an excellent player, but Aibo's a rookie. He's only been playing League for like a few months, I believe.
I think he has under 30 games played.
Yeah, like there's a chance that if Clear Love doesn't show up, that C9 takes second seed. I do believe that can happen.
Yeah,
They
I agree.
they have the beneficial matchup. I think that bot lane for C9 is a bit but iBoy's a rookie. I don't think there should be much action happening there. I think C9 bot lane should be able to hold their own. So if Clear Love shows up, EDG second. If Clear Love does not show up, C9 second. And then HQ, they suck. LMS is a pretty bad region this year. They are really bad. People said that HKA is better than HQ, and honestly, I agree. HQ was supposed to lose in like the Gauntlet to Worlds to J Team, but J Team threw a pretty big lead, like literally threw. That was horrible. If you go watch that series, it was fucking horrible. Their mid lane is horrible. Like this, look at the pool. You have Faker, you have Jensen, you have Scout, and you have fucking Wester and Chowie. That's horrible. That's like it's not gonna be pretty for AHQ. Whoever they start, Chowie's a bit better than Wester. Wester's like really washed up, but he's also like really outclassed. So I don't think that AHQ can do much. I don't think they're gonna. Maybe they win a game if someone tilts. I just don't think it's gonna happen. So yeah, it's gonna be SKT, EDG, C9, HQ with the variable chance that C9 makes it out. So in Group B, we have Longzhu, Fnatic, Immortals, and Gigabyte Marines for me. I think that Fnatic, Immortals, and Gigabyte Marines are all early game teams, so that should be like really fun to watch. A lot of action early on. Gigabyte Marines, their top laner is really bad. And when you look at like who is in this team, you have Flame, you have Soaz, you have Khan, and you have Archie. I don't think that's going to be like I said in the last podcast, it's not going to be pretty for Archie. He should be getting reamed constantly, every single time. The only saving grace for Gigabyte Marines is their jungler. Levi is a really good jungler. I just don't think that Levi himself is enough to carry Gigabyte Marines to like get out of groups or even finish third, because Optimus has been slumping. If you take a look at some of the games for Vietnam, he has not been on his MSI form. He has looked really bad. And they did upgrade their bot lane, like their AD carry is actually much better than the AD carry they had at MSI. I forgot who it even was. But I just don't think that it's enough for Gigabyte Marines to actually get out. And this is a very bot-centric meta. And then I look at Immortals bot lane, I look at Cody Sun, and I just have to laugh because Cody Sun is really bad. That bot lane is basically carried by Ole, like really, really hard. I just don't think it's feasible for Immortals to beat Fnatic purely based on bot lane strength alone. I think Xmithie is also very exploitable in a way, especially what you saw during the finals. He can be exploited. His pathing can be exploited very easily. Soaz should be able to hold his own versus Flame, and Caps should go even versus Pobelter. Like, Pobelter's a really good player. I just don't think that he's better than Caps necessarily. At burst, it's an even lane. So, like, and as I said previously, Fnatic manages to solve Brox's pathing. They know their win condition. They play around them. And Jesus works on his roaming times. I do think that like Fnatic should be able to take second. Again, much like C9 and EDG is really close. Like Immortals can't beat Fnatic definitely. It's a best of one. Anything can happen. But if I have to put money down, I'd say Longzhu, Fnatic, Immortals, and Gigabyte Marines for Group B. Group C, I have Samsung, G2, RNG, and Fenerbahce. I do think Samsung's gonna be first, but it's not gonna be nice or pretty. I think there's a chance to definitely drop a game to either G2 or RNG, maybe even 2 games. Like G2 and Samsung are both like relatively late game teams. They get better as the game goes on, and then the contrast that you have RNG, who's a really strong early game team, and that opens up a lot of shenanigan potential. I think the biggest like chance or the biggest thing that's stopping G2 from getting first place here is Trick, because I think Ambition has been playing great in Korea. You could make an argument he's the best Korean jungler. And they have Trick, and like Trick looked good last time internationally versus Kandi. He was versus Blank, but he actually was able to exploit Conti pretty well. And if Trick shows up, G2 can definitely. If Trick shows up, G2 gets second definitely, and then there's a chance they can maybe do something for first place. I don't think RNG will necessarily make it out because it's hard to say. It really depends on how good their early game goes. Like if they completely steamroll G2 in the early game, they'll take the second seed. But that's the thing. It's a volatile thing. If you don't do that well in the early game, you're kind of fucked. So like to put my money down, I would go Samsung, G2, RNG, and Fenerbahce. And last group, we have Group D. We have Team WE, Misfits, Flash Wolves, and TSM. Oh man, so for TSM, I put them last because I think that TSM is a team that depends very much on how the first game of the day goes. I think if they don't do that well in the first game, they will tilt for the rest of the day. So I just think this is very dependable on how well they do in the first game. If they lose, it's not going to be that good for them. Flash Wolves is third because LMS is not that particularly good. Like or Flash Wolves completely destroyed HQ in the finals. Like it wasn't even close. It was like a 10k, 20k goal lead at 20, 30 minutes or something. So that's good for Flash Wolves that they're like miles ahead of everyone else in that region. But how good will that be internationally? I do think that like there's a chance that Flash Wolves, like this is a very close group. I do think that Flash Wolves and TSM can both make it out. I just don't think it's going to be that likely, especially when you consider that Maple has been slumping pretty heavily. He hasn't looked that particularly good as he did previous years when you saw him play internationally or in the LMS. And also, there's also Karsa, who has been getting back up to form. Like he hasn't been like benched and fined early on in the LMS summer split for being toxic or something. I forgot. So I mean, there's a chance. I just don't really see it realistically. First place is WE. WE did look shaky in the overall playing stage, but I don't think you can extrapolate much from that because they don't really want to really reveal everything, all their plans for this meme tournament and like go full strength. They also had a bit of like a drafting issue. They drafted like really weak early games, which wildcard teams kind of exploited, but not really. They're definitely stronger mid to late game. I do think that WE should just get first place if they play full strength. I don't think it should really be anywhere close. And I put Misfits second for a variety of reasons. I think that Misfits have the best top laner in this group, which is Alfari. I think that like this will be the tournament where Alfari shows up and shows people that he's actually a really good player. I think he should be able to take down 957 pretty handily. Like I don't think 957 he's not a carry player for WE. And Hanser, based on previous international performance by Hanser, I don't see it. I really don't. I don't see him like beating Alfari, for example. And then there's MMD, who kind of sucks. So I think that Alfari, that top lane advantage is going to be really great for Misfits. I also think Maxlore is underrated really hard.
Joe seems to have cut out.
Yeah, your mic just died.
I think the Maxlore comment, Discord had enough of it.
Yeah, Discord.
Yeah,
hello.
Are we back?
You hello?
What?
Are
Hello?
you here? Are you live?
What happened? What?
Your mic got ripped out or something.
Right when you started talking about Maxlore.
Yep.
Okay. Fuck. Okay. So it was that Maxlore is actually a really underrated jungler because like ever since I watched him play on Rocket and on Giants, I think he was really smart with vision control, objective play, playing around objectives, and just overall pathing. I think he's really smart. I'm like the second best jungler in that group, alongside Condi. Misfits also have a really good, smart coaching staff. I think that like Daku and Hiva analysts are really good. They know how to adapt properly. I think their strength has always been like even in like spring split of USS was how to play around Baron correctly, which I think a lot of teams suck at, especially if you watch the play-in stage. Like you look at this, for example, this stack jungle pool in this group. Like, what the fuck is Svenskeren gonna do? Like, Svenskeren is like the kid in the back of the class huffing glue, huffing paint. I just don't see Svenskeren doing anything realistically, unless like picks Lee Sin, which is the only champion he can play, and Elise or something, and just carry that way. But I just think that jungle disparity is pretty bad for TSM in this group. Like the jungle top disparity is pretty good, no matter how mid and bot lane are. That's just far too heavy in my opinion to predict them getting out of this group. There's a chance, absolutely. Like if TSM does great in the first game of the day, they can definitely pull out a way to get out of these groups. I just think that overall Team W and Misfits are much better than Flash Wolves and TSM. So yeah, those are my pick'ems.
All right, so this is mine. Just going through Group A. I have SKT first. I think they're going to be pretty dominant. I think they'll at worst drop one game. I think they've had a month with probably the best coaching staff in the world. So they probably would have fixed up a lot of the issues that they've been having. I did hear a little bit of stuff about something that's going on with Peanut, so I wonder if they'll even be playing him and only be playing Blank. I think that it'll be very dependent on if Bang decides to play, if he wants to play 2016 Bang or 2017 Bang, because he's been not that impressive this year. I still don't think they'll have a very hard problems with getting out. I have EDG coming second, and pretty much for any scenario where I have China in NA in a similar spot, I always put China first because they play a very similar style, but China plays it better. And I think even if I think that Cloud9's a better team overall, which I don't really, but I think that in the head-to-head matchup where it matters, they will lose. So they'll make it out of the group. Over that, I do think there is a chance that both Cloud9 or EDG can make it out. I think it's pretty close between those two. And then I think AHQ, I don't think there's a chance that any LMS team does well. They've had a bad year. They looked bad at MSI. They looked bad last Worlds. I'm not going in with high hopes for them. It'd be kind of neat to see because like they do play a lot different than every other region, so it'd be exciting. But I don't see them winning a game. AHQ. Longju, I think they're gonna go 6-0. I don't really see. Only way I see them losing would be a cheese pick. Like someone put on Reddit the other day that Gorilla and Prey have lost every groups 4-2. Like every groups they played at Worlds, they've always came 4-2. So they're like, ha ha ha, Longju gonna go 4-2. I don't think that's really gonna happen this time. I think that they have a lot better top side of the map. Right now, I think they have a very, very good chance of being 6-0. Immortals versus Fnatic. I think Fnatic's going to lose to Gigabyte Marines. That's kind of why I think Immortals will have the edge. Fnatic looked bad against Young Generation in both games. Even though they won one, it was a 50-minute game. It didn't look clean. It looked really bad. And if Gigabyte Marines 3-0'd Young Generation in finals, I think Fnatic will have similar issues. I still don't think that they'll have that great of a turnout. Other than that, I think that I'm pretty firm on Immortals and Longju making it out. I think it'll be probably 5-1 and then 4-2 and then like 2-4 and then 2-4. I can't see any other turnout for Group B, to be honest. Group C is actually one of the ones I had the most issues with. I actually originally put RNG first. I think that Samsung is really overrated right now. I think it's definitely going to be a toss-up between which two of them makes it. And if Samsung comes out of the gates running, I think RNG will tilt and G2 might be able to make it out. But it's definitely a really close group between the top three. I think this is probably the closest group for these three teams. And then I don't think, although Fenerbahce looked okay, I think they're going to be very easily exploited, and I don't see them having a good chance of getting out. Group D, I think Flash Wolves look like garbage too. I can't see any world where LMS gets out. Misfits, they have 3 rookies, which is kind of sketchy. Power of Evil has been alright. He's been a pretty good mid, I guess. I think he's better than Caps. I don't think he's as good as Perks. I'd be interested to see how they do. I really like Misfits, but I don't see them performing as they should. I think they're going to choke. I think Alfari next year will be the best top laner in Europe. I think he's really impressive. But I don't think he's better than Hanser, to be honest. And I think both TSM and World Elite will come out with 4-2. But, again, TSM will lose both their games to World Elite, and World Elite will get first place. That's about it. I think World Elite look clear to be first.
We rolled through all of those, damn.
Yeah.
That was cool. I mean, okay, so I have a legit question, and I'm not, like, insulting you guys or questioning, but I am in the same boat in that I don't like TSM. Well, actually, I don't like some of the people there. Like, you know, I'm not a huge Reggie fan, even though he's done a lot for NA LCS, I guess. But, you know, do you guys actually, like, I'm questioning whether you guys, like, how you see Hanser from, like, in terms of, like, the international perspective, because, like, you were saying, like, Sven and Hanser were, I think it was Cho that said Sven and Hanser, you know, have one of the worst synergies in this matchup, but, you know, we got, like, I'm just kind of, like, elaborate a little bit more on that, because I'm, like, interested in why you guys think that, or Cho and, Bert.
Well, in the NALCS finals, there was some pretty questionable ganks by Sven and Hanser, honestly, against Fame, quite a few times. And internationally, Hanser, I think, has been fine. I think he's been pretty rock solid internationally, but I think Sven Skaren's always been a bit of a risk. Like, I think he's a player who needs to get ahead early, and if he doesn't really have that much of an impact. And without Lee being a meta, not really being a meta per se, but being
No,
really as
S tier.
viable. I
No,
don't
S
think
tier.
he's going to be as good.
All right, that's fair. I was just wondering
I got
because
something.
like some of the reasoning was
So-
kind of like iffy.
I'd say that Immortals top side of McSmithy and Flame is better than World Elite, Misfits, and Flash Wolves, and they beat them pretty single handed. Like the finals of NA, they did not look. They look. It's mostly not because of their top side that Immortals lost, but they clearly were able to win with TSM's top side being their weak point. And this is a bot lane focused meta. I think Double Lift is definitely the best AD carry in North America. I think Bjergsen is amazing. I can't see the problems of you guys saying the top lane mattering that much. If they are that worried about Haunter, they'll throw him on like Shen or something like that, and you just split push and then teleport when they need him. I can't see the top lane detriment being that bad for them to go fourth place. I can't see a world where they don't make it out of this group.
As I said, I think it's just a case of I don't think Double Lift will perform. I don't think he will perform to his usual level. This is kind of his year to prove, if you know what I mean, but he can. But I don't think he'll do it. I think Bjergsen will still be pretty rock solid, and I think Hans will be rock solid. But Sven Skaren, I don't think he'll match the expectations of the other junglers in the group, and I don't think he'll do as well.
Sorry.
That's just my opinion on it anyway, you know.
I mean, I definitely see a world where TSM can fuck this up because I think TSM are very used to playing their controlled way of playing the game. Like, okay, like let's think about this. Like at both splits in the NALCS, TSM have just kind of rolled over everyone slowly,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And between them and Cloud9, it's been pretty close until this year or this summer split. And like last year internationally, like the problem, like yeah, we could all joke and meme about Double Lift like eating into Crown's Victor Laser and throwing that game away. But I actually do think it's interesting that TSM every time they get to into the international like limelight or spotlight, that they end up kind of not playing the way TSM always plays. During this split they've played a lot of different shit, and we've seen Reddit go for Parth's throat for picking Galio for Bjergsen and all this other stupid shit. But I do give TSM credit for playing this split more of like trying different things that aren't necessarily the controlled winning lanes, and then having Sven invade their jungle and control buffs, and then eventually win skirmishes. The big question is that whether WE Flash Wolves or Misfits will allow TSM to really play their comfort style, because whenever TSM are going to get up against a Korean team, like I'll just use that Korean team as an example, any of these three, Korean, Longshu, Samsung, SKT, if they ever go against them, there's no way SKT or any of the Korean teams are going to let TSM take winning lanes and then being able to control skirmishes with vision and lane priorities. So I don't know, like that's the big if for me. If like TSM can't do it this year, I don't know whether any version of this roster is going to be able to adjust to that, or if they need more of a management shift, and TSM pretty much have one of the best management staffs as well. So it's an interesting question or way to look at it, because in one sense it's really easy to look at TSM from an NA perspective and they always stomp, but it's also really easy to look at TSM from like the international perspective, where they tend to flounder in international performances. So
Yeah,
it's definitely going to be interesting.
it's just a case of like, see if TSM played the same way in NA as they did in international events, where they where they had a couple of different styles and could play the game in a couple of different ways. But in international events, they seem to put a lot of eggs into the Double Lift and Bjergsen basket, which fair enough. If there are players who you have the most confidence in, if you know what I mean, fair enough. But I feel like it doesn't always go as planned for them. I feel like they change too many things going into Worlds, or they sort of shift too much, and then it kind of fucks them up. And I feel that's the same with a lot of teams. They go to the Korean boot camp, or they go to wherever boot camp, and they change something they've been doing all season, and then they go to Worlds and just get fucked. Like, fair enough, it might not work against Korean teams, but surely it'd be better to get yourself out of groups first in the quarters, and then try to change it, if you know what I mean. instead of fucking yourself up. But that's it. It's my opinion on it anyway. That's it. Because I would like to see TSM do well internationally, but it's just a case of I don't think they will.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see both sides of the argument. I don't necessarily, you know, I don't like, honestly, just like fuck TSM in many aspects, but you know, I didn't like some of the older members of TSM, and you know, I like Bjergsen a lot, but it's just like it's a very interesting, like it's a tale of two different perspectives, because some people like really eat up the, you know, NALCS circle jerk or whatever, and really
Yeah.
think TSM are, you know, God's gift to Earth, and then you have the other ones who wish TSM like die in a plane
Damn a
crash on their
plane
way to
crash, yeah.
China, and you know, so I
Yeah.
just think that sometimes a lot of NA fans uh, really don't see the international perspective on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that like that's something very noteworthy and things worthy to discuss about with TSM.
Okay. Yeah, that's no problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Does anyone else have any final notes on the other groups? Anyone?
No, I think that's
Sure.
pretty much it for groups.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to move on then?
Yeah. So next part will be the NA and the EU LCS. So, if I can just find my document here. Okay, so first thing was they announced that NA LCS is switching to a best of one format. A lot of people are very against this, and a lot of people seem to be very for it. And it's just kind of interesting to see your guys' thoughts on it. Why you think it'd be a good idea? Why you think it's a bad idea? You think it'll be negative in any way? Just go around the table. Like, what do you think, AJ?
Well, okay, I could say this. I've been watching competitive league since season 3. I've pretty much religiously watched most teams. I mean, I don't necessarily watch like intently follow, or I might have it on my other monitor. But I've watched like pretty much like 85% of NALCS games, and this year was the only year I didn't watch a whole lot of EU. But I just don't. I'm very conflicted on this, because as a fan, I am so bored of watching the best of 3 formats when it's against garbage teams. But at the same time, the argument for garbage teams seems kind of like, or the argument for having a best of 1 format is very like reasonable from a viewer's perspective, and from an NALCS perspective, where where they're franchising and just kind of like, you know, making the league more presentable to the entire world, so to speak. The competitive side of me kind of doesn't like this change, but ultimately league games in general and NALCS games in general have kind of gotten very dull for me. Like, you know, there's not a whole lot of games that stand out each season. The best of 3 format has definitely like made teams better in terms of performance or like adaptability, and you know, putting in new players and giving them stage experience. But the games are just kind of all blend in together. Like, if you're going to tell me what game was the best series, or what game was the best game out of all of the games in regular season, I probably can't even name one that just stood out a lot. And I watched a lot of NALCS. Like, maybe, okay, the ending between TSM and CLG game 3, where CLG fumbled the Nexus dive, or like the Nexus turret dive, and then Bio and Sven like juggled the minion aggro, and then CLG tried to end and they couldn't, then TSM won. Like, maybe that's one game that stands out to me, but I really have to think hard about it. So I don't know. I just don't think that best of 3 can last as long as best of 1, because to be honest, I love just, you know, when 2015, I would just bring up my laptop and be at work, or you know, have school stuff to do, and just put it on and then like watch, and then, you know, do whatever. But best of 3, it just kind of like blends in. It doesn't stand out to me. So, and the one argument that a lot of people have used that just doesn't make sense to me is that, oh, well, now teams can cheese their way through the regular season. Like, okay, they could have also done cheese strategies during the regular season or playoffs in the best of three world as well. And cheese isn't necessarily like, for some reason everyone thinks cheese equals bad. Cheese equals usually creative and like innovative thinking. Like the last cheese event that sticks out in my mind the most is MF Support uh by Gorilla, who got it from Core, I want to say. I don't know the
They,
exact.
I'm not sure who they scrimmed against each other pretty much,
And then that's
they
where
both
found
used
it.
that strat. So
Okay.
I'm not sure who
So
originated.
when that was probably like the most distinct example of cheese in the past 3 years, and I don't know, like I thought that was a cool pick. It worked out. It was interesting, and you know we still have like, I remember during the NV and CLG playoff series that NVS kept like four-manning Omar God's red buff or wherever he started. And I don't think that's like a cheese strat, like cheese as in, oh, look how bad it is. It's like creative. It's well thought out. It's meant to exploit Omar God's weaknesses. So I just don't understand where a lot of it, they're like, yeah, they're gonna cheese us and we're gonna lose and then TSM will win worlds, and you know, like I just think it's a load of horseshit, to be honest. So I'm all for it, although I could see a world where it won't work. So uh I'm just happy that I don't have to, you know, watch a best of three between like, I don't know, Echo Fox and Liquid or something. Although I would watch that since I'm a Liquid fan.
Myself, I best of one. On the cheese point, actually, I think a lot of the lower tier teams like Phoenix One and stuff would be much higher in best of one. I feel like some teams just genuinely prepare better for best of ones than they do for best of threes. Like, I don't think it's a case of cheesing. I just think they get that one advantage in that one early game, and the next game a team will adapt it. Well, in a lot of cases, like like Phoenix One at Rift Rifles was a good example. They went like what did really well in groups, so they came back to NN and still got smashed. I think best of one does give you opportunity for lower tier teams to perform better, just because they only have to prepare for one game, and then they get more preparation, and then they can prepare more picks easier. Um, but best of one also makes more money and is easier for viewers. Like personally, I've watched significantly less league since it became best of three than I did when it was best of one. Like no one wants to watch bottom tier teams slugfest the fuck out of each other for a best of three. Like, would you like Nip versus Rocket or Origin versus Rocket? You know, series like that. No one wants to watch, right? Unless you're into watching car crashes. You know, best of one I think brings much more money into the scene. For pros itself, I don't think it's good for pros. I think they need as much experience on stage as possible as they can really get. So when it comes to words and stuff, they're much more adapted to it. Best of threes, better for competitive. Worse for money and for viewers. Best of ones, better for money, better for viewers. Worse for competitive play. Overall, because lower tier teams will pick up more wins. But other than that, that's my whole opinion on it, right? Joe, do you want to hit us up next? No.
Yeah. Like I said in the first ever podcast, I've been watching League since 2010. And here's the thing with the LCS format: it's dull. It's really dull. Like after a while, you kind of realize that the regular season doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
That the only thing that matters is the playoffs, and especially now that NA is getting franchised, the regular season is literally a meme where it doesn't matter. None of these games matter until playoffs. Like I guess it matters who gets into playoffs, but like realistically speaking, it's kind of pointless. Like the change to best of one, I think is actually good because, as people said, no one wants to watch a best of three between bad teams. You know, like best of one will definitely bring a lot of viewers back, and it should be better for teams because, for example, if you have like a bad team versus bad team second game of the day, but you have like a really good team versus a really good team third game of the day, people are more inclined to stay and watch that than just leaving the stream completely, which was the case when a lot of bad teams played, especially on a Friday night in NALCS. Like the argument people like to make is that it will kill competitiveness in NA, and that NA won't be able to compete with Korea. I'm like, you could play best of 57, you will not be able to compete with Korea because innately your region doesn't have enough skill or talent to compete with Korea. You want to compete with Korea, like Monte Cristo said way back when, go to Korea, go to OGN, play there, and you'll be able to compete with Koreans, provided you're a good team. Like, I mean, yeah, best of three is better because of, like, playoffs are best of three and shit, so you can adapt, or best of five, whatever. I just don't think it necessarily matters that much. Like, best of one is better for viewership, for money, and it creates a lot of upsets. Like, you can, much like World's group stage, like last year with ANX and shit, you could go, oh man, what an upset. NV beat TSM or something. But like, best of three is definitely better for consistency, for example. Teams can definitely get a lot more used to it, especially because playoffs are in the similar format. There's a bigger volume of games, which means pros get better, more practice time on stage. And what I haven't heard mentioned is that the best of three is actually really good for rookies, because you can sub a rookie in for one game. If he doesn't perform, you can sub him out, which you won't be able to do that much in the best of one format. Though I guess that's kind of mitigated by the fact that NELCS is now franchised, so there's like no risk of starting like rookies. You can't get relegated.
Academy teams as well.
Yeah, so that's kind of mitigated in a way. I think that best of one is good, but it would be great if like NA somehow added more best of fives, like maybe extended playoffs or something like that, or like something like China has with the Demacia Cup, like maybe a side tournament that goes along with NALCS. Yeah, I think it's a good change. I can see arguments for the both side. I just think that like Riot cares more about viewership than competitiveness and money making of NALCS, and I think that like in that, going by that logic, best of one is the better and correct choice here.
I think the biggest problem I had with the NALCS format before was the dual stream. I was hoping to keep the best of three format and move to like a 5-day streaming schedule like what Korea has, but I thought they'd do like Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday. I can see why they're switching to this. The more that pros are like standing behind it and saying their reasons, I can kind of see why they think it's a good thing. I think overall, having best of three stage experience is huge, and I like the idea of using subs, although it hasn't really been that well implemented. I think it's a really cool concept. I don't think... Like, I hope that if it does go poorly in Spring Split and they don't get good results from it, they will switch back for summer. That's pretty much... I'm hoping it's just like kind of like a trial split, and they don't just forever say no on best of threes.
I mean, like, I'm kind of curious, like, how, like, let's look at like a team that always, like, if there's like the best of three format and how like teams do result wise, and I believe it was Spring Split of this year in NA where there was like some interesting, there was like a Reddit thread about like interesting stats on game ones if like NALCS was still best of one. And there was like TSM was dropping every the first game of like almost every one of their series. So like that's just it's so interesting to think like how would teams be different. Like I believe Liquid would have been fourth, which of course like fucking history writes itself. But like Liquid would have been fourth, but they weren't. They were like last because they couldn't win game 2 or 3 or something to that degree. So how does this affect teams and how teams like prepare for matches? I think that's the most interesting aspect about it.
I think something that people have forgot is the best of two format.
I think best of two would be the best solution at this point.
It'd be just kind of like there's a lot of feeling after a 1-1 or something like that.
I'm sorry, dude. Does NA people have ties? Can you help best of two in NA? Europeans have ties, NA doesn't.
Soccer culture.
We always got extra time,
Yeah, true. Maybe we should just make a play rock, paper, scissors to say who wins on stage,
There you go. Whoever can dance the best, have a dance off.
Oh, dude, yeah, it'd be mint. I'd watch that. I'd watch that more than some of the games, honestly. Fucking NALCS dance off,
Freak the MC.
I just don't like the idea about like the best of 1, 2, because like the fact that you don't get both sides. Like, there's a point right now where you clearly want to be on red side or you clearly want to be on blue side because it fits like your team comp style or whatever. And if you don't get side selection, like you're screwed. Like you could lose a game just based off not being good on like red or blue. Like in Counter Strike, like one big problem I have with following and watching Counter Strike is they all just pick 3 maps, or whatever, right? And they go in the map pool, and then you get to pick one map for your team, one map for the other team, and then like one mutual map. And it's like, so you just each win a map, and then the third map goes over. Like, I don't understand how that's a good system, because you're obviously just gonna pick the one you're way better on. And it's kind of the problem I have with the best of one, because if they're better at blue side and they get blue side, they just won. In a way, not always necessarily, but it definitely gives them an advantage. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the best thing we could do is just watch and hope they revisit it.
Some people were suggesting like do best of 1 in spring and best of 3 in summer. Was what some people were
Yeah,
suggesting.
I like that idea too. I thought it's pretty smart.
I don't like it because then it makes the spring split even more meaningless.
Yeah.
Even more of a meme split.
And then, especially since we have Rift Rivals now, you know. Best
Oh, yeah.
in, yep. Can't wait to have our new NA representatives, you know, from Best of 1 format.
Hey, we'll see.
You mean EU's gonna be moved to best of 1 too? Like, there's no way they keep...
I don't think EU will move to Best of 1. I think.
Well, what is EU? Has anything like official come out yet? Or is it
No.
still like the...
Well, judging by from our next topic, which we're going to segue into,
Oh, there we
HGK
go.
have released another letter complaining about
Oh,
this.
boy.
So, honestly, I think that EU will do this whole region dividing thing and divide into a bunch of different regions. EU will be weak for the first 2 years until talent actually develops, and then it'll be much better, especially for the UK league actually, because it's not like Maxwell wasn't even like significantly the best top winner in the UK whenever he was in the UK. He wasn't the
Maxwell?
best by
Does that count
What?
this year?
not Maxwell,
For
sorry.
2 years?
No. From the year that it splits.
So they're gonna get worse? So you're saying?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think you're gonna get dick for 2 years. Pretty
Ugh.
much. I think it'll be quite fucking XD, honestly. I don't think it'll be good for about the first 2 years till teams actually sort of set up and get things going again. But I think that after 2 years it'll be significantly better because there is quite a large talent pool in Europe. That is pretty much untouched. There's players who just run away and challenger. Like I said, Alfari was definitely not even like at the time of his peak was not the best top winner in the UK challenger. If you know what I mean, like he I would say he got a pretty lucky run by getting picked up by Misfits. Honestly, sorry, he wasn't picked up by Misfits. He was on Banditos, wasn't he?
Yep.
It's not
Okay.
luck if you're good though. It's deserved. He worked hard for it.
But I mean, like he wasn't like the best top winner ever. If you know what I mean, like there's kind of a lot of teams that had say weaker mid laners or weaker ADCs. Like I got it. There's a bunch like, UK talent tends to be ever one side of your map carries if you ever side ints. A lot of the time, especially in ESL, it's a lot of one side ints or one side wins. And there's no real in between. The top side of your map's ever always going to win, or the bottom side of your map's always going to lose. Because there's no general consistency. Like, do you know the guy who coached Winter Fox now coaches in ESL? So he does. Like,
Paragon?
yeah.
Damn.
I
He
didn't even know
coaches
he
an
still
Irish team.
existed.
Yeah, he coaches an Irish team in ESL. Like, imagine going from fucking NA to fucking Ireland for fuck's sake.
Anything
that's
for
a-
money.
Yeah, definitely. Fucking potatoes, yeah. But I think EU will be weaker overall for about the first 2 years, especially after the change. I think HGK writing this letter is like a desperate cry to the community to say, please help us, please, rather evilly in us. But nobody really gives enough of a shit, honestly, to do anything because EU's a dead region, you know? No viewers. So,
No personality.
yeah, no personalities. I think actually swapping the best of ones in NA will be good as well because it will give EU a better schedule if they do continue best of threes. Or however the fuck we're going to do this multi-region nonsense. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's just HGK's desperate cry for a community to give them a helping hand, you know, and please help us, community. We done good. We spoke to you about our problems, you know. Where's our reward? But yeah, I still think Rat won't really give a shit. We'll just divide the region up, honestly, and I think that'll be EU's future. There's more money in the long term, in my opinion, dividing it up, but in the short term, it's going to be fucking brutal.
I mean, I just think that, you know, what H2K is more of, they're trying to, they've always been kind of outspoken about their issues or like transparent, which I admire them for. But in terms of like the rest of the EULCS, like we saw G2, Fnatic, Splice, and H2K, right? Was it them
Misfits.
that applied Misfits that applied for the NALCS, which I don't know. That's that's a whole different issue. But it just for me, I don't understand why. Like the scheduling thing is, I think, a huge reason as well. But I just don't understand why the EULCS has felt bland in terms of like personality, because I don't think it's like a lack of personality with just strictly players, but I think it's more of how do these teams like market themselves in term it like I don't see much stuff from Rocket or Giants. If I don't even think Giants are in it anymore.
They
Or
just
if
got
were,
they just got promoted.
they just got promoted. Okay, so you got Giants, and then with Echo Fox, with Liquid, with Phoenix One, you're seeing like their their players and the names. They kind of like pop up here and there in popularity, or they make a really good play, like or Mike Young comes along, and there's a lot of storylines about them. Like I don't think it's necessarily just personality. I just think it's like a lot of the storylines aren't necessarily built up about the league, and it just kind of feels like you got UOL, you got Misfits, you got G2 on top of all of them, and other than that, or like HK and Fnatic, and then other than that, you just kind of have like a bunch of just kind of names that all blend in with each other. Cause like I don't know, I think of Betsy. Let's take Betsy.
Mhm.
And I feel like he's just on he's the generic mid laner for every bottom tier LCS team, LCS team. Like he's been like I think he's on Rocket now or was.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So like I kind of just feel like the names all kind of just blend into each other, and there's nothing like very distinct or special about them,
Mhm.
or at least like it's not advertised to me that way. So it might be whatever they do choose to do as a region. I just think they need to quote unquote make EU great again, or whatever, make it exciting, because I actually used to watch more EU LCS because I had free time during the weekdays and then I was out doing things on the weekends. So I think they have potential. They, like you said, I just think it might take some time to get there.
Mhm. Chill, do you want to hit us your opinion on HDK's cheerleader?
I mean, I always thought Rich was HTK Rich was a piece of shit, but now like with these letters, I'm 100% convinced he's a piece of shit. Like
Sorry to interject.
Yeah,
This is a different Rich.
No, it's the same Rich.
Right, same Rich.
Same
No.
5.5k Rich.
No, there's like a really old guy.
Yeah, but it's the same guy who writes. Yeah, they have their CEOs called Rich. One of the CEOs called Rich.
Yeah.
But
The guy who wrote this
Rich-
open letter, it wasn't the guy who did this 5.5k memes.
Right, I thought it was someone.
I thought it was the same. What?
I'm like 85% sure because I looked it up earlier because I was like HTK Rich because I saw like the picture and he's like super young, and then the other guy was like HTK letter.
It's not signed actually. It's just signed by H2K.
Is this the new one? Richard
Yeah.
Lippy.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, that's not the other HTK. It's a different Rich.
Yeah,
let me
he's
rephrase.
Rich as well.
Let me rephrase. Okay, I think H2K are pieces of shit collectively now, because what I feel they're doing by these letters, they're trying to manipulate the fans into supporting them for like when the fans don't know what's happening behind the scenes. I think that H2K themselves fucked up financially. Like their financial management was horrible. Like they're 1 million down or something in losses, and now they're trying to blame Riot for it and asking Riot for more money. And I don't think that's how that works. Like if you notice, don't you find it funny how no team came out in support of H2K? Like when teams were threatening to leave EU for NA, multiple teams did that. Now nobody's coming out and supporting H2K. Like that's a big red flag, you know? Like it's literally H2K bitching about them having bad financial management and trying to blame Riot. Like I know that for a fact that the Misfits owner, I think his name's like Ben Spunt or something, he said that the EU changes are going to be great and they should help the region a lot, like going into next season. I think Ocelot said the same thing, and I've spoken to Sheepy, and he as well thinks that the changes are going to be great. So like you have all these teams and owners and coaches saying, "Oh, EU changes are gonna be good," and you have this one specific fucking team going, "Oh no, it's bad. Please give us more money." To me, that screams you fucked up. Your financial department was horrible. You overspent. You're not getting a return on your investment, and now you want to blame Riot for it. Fuck you. If you like, and their threat is we're gonna like leave EULCS. Go, fucking leave. Commit brand suicide because they have like no teams anywhere else except maybe Call of Duty. So yeah, nice fucking threat. So like, leave if you're gonna be an asshole about this thing and trying to blame Riot and like manipulate the community into supporting you when like you really have no leg to stand on. Just the league will be better off without you, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I think they're like pieces of shit, more or
I
less.
mean, how much did they spend on the H2 Watt
1 million,
series?
1
Yeah,
million or
1
so.
million on the H2 Watt. Like, I mean,
I don't even know how you spend 1 million, like realistically speaking. Unless you're like paying every player a shitload of money.
yeah.
Those are, I could see the two Richards now, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just put it up on the stream. Yeah, so Richard Wells is the CGO, and Richard Lippy, the guy who wrote the letter, is the co-chairman, general counselor, director of special projects.
Two dicks.
Chief Gaming
Well, to put it in
Officer.
perspective, all G2
So-
players are currently on 6 figures anyway, according to Perks. So we are.
Jesus.
I mean,
Um,
Ocelot's raking in dough for.
Oh, yeah.
G2 has been a very successful organ. Like they're
Mhm.
they're probably in like the most
They're
recent
huge.
years. I'd say they're almost as big as Fnatic at this point. Like
Yeah, they pretty much.
Like, they have a
like, in
really good
terms of
CS:GO
following-
team.
Yeah, a very good CS:GO team, a very
Rocket
good league
League.
team,
Yeah.
Rocket League. I have a couple of ones
Rocket
as well.
League.
Mm-hmm.
Rocket lol.
It's a great
Yeah,
game.
the
Shut your
inventory
mouth.
as well, and they have, the greatest mobile esport, and I think I have Smash too.
Do they have Smash?
I think we do.
I only
Or they
follow
did.
Yeah, so-
very little. So
I'm not like the biggest fan of like HTK Rich, like the 5.5K guy, but I didn't think it was. I was pretty sure it was a different guy that wrote that letter, so it's kind of bad to like slander someone's name.
Oh no, he's gonna sue me. Please don't
Yeah.
sue me.
Balls, so would I.
You know what I
yes,
mean,
sir.
though.
Smash fair. Yeah. As said,
Oh.
I have a couple of problems with EU. Like, I think genuinely, like, it's just like a lot of the teams are lazy and don't want to do the work that's required. Like, from what I'm aware, like you seen CNA players in Discords and stuff have to join their Discords. Like, a lot of the time, like I don't know how it is in Liquid and stuff, but like Phoenix One, I know players are contractually obligated to join join the Discord. So we are at least Beaver, right? But like Fnatic, they can't even get like a single one of the players to come onto the Discord at all. Not even just a Beaver. We don't have to read it. Just not even the Beaver because they're not contractually obligated to. EU players have a bit of a entitlement syndrome where they can get away with a lot more things than you could probably get away with in NA because EU has such like limited amounts of talent because no one's willing to develop it.
I mean, if you were a pro player, would you want to talk to an average redditor?
No,
In Discord?
no, that's
I mean,
a fair point. No, I agree. But it's a case of like they won't do AMAs or anything in that regard, if you know what I mean. Like, Liquid, for example, a couple of months ago did an AMA with Dardock, Rainover, and a couple of other, not Dardock, Rainover and such, a couple of months
Liquid
ago.
does almost one a month with every one of their teams.
Yeah.
They just did one with their their Dota 2 team last week.
And G2 did one the other night with Sven, so we did. On Facebook, obviously, because Facebook, basically, like, it's a case of a lot of EU teams just don't want to do it or can't force their players to do it because they're too worried the players will just take a history fit and leave their team. Like, could you imagine HGK if Yankos just decided to quit or if Fedvin decided to box some e-girls, you know what I mean? Like, they'd be decently fucked.
Not really. I think that like that case in NA would be a lot more stringent because EU has such a big player base that if someone was to leave, they could just pick a random guy off the challenger ladder that looks
But
promising.
that's the thing, like, Europe doesn't do that because they don't, they
That's
like
just
develop
pussies.
talent.
That seems
Yeah.
like a problem they have themselves, though, not a problem with.
But it's the teams that don't want to pick them up, if you know what I mean. Like, teams are willing to pick up, like,
So what's the point of the NA server being so much worse than the EU server if they're not going to pick up players?
you see, that's the thing. Like, it doesn't. This is why, like, the new league system, where they have to actually take talent from the local regions in solo queue, in comparison to what to do now, where they have top winners like Faxi playing on fucking Rocket, going 0-14 in a fucking LCS game. Like, when there's so much better players out there and Challenger as well. Like, look at what did you call the ADC of Mysterious Monkey? Yuki. He's been in
Yuki, yeah.
Challenger what, 4 years?
Yeah, something like that.
And he was still better from, what the fuck did you call that? Toaster? Toast was his name? The fucking OG?
Toaster was in like 2 games though.
He played like 4, just like this sub the next pack again. If you know what I mean, like it's a case of EU teams just don't like developing talent because they're too scared of fucking doing it. Like they have no guts. Like even look at that. Caps, for example, is taken from Turkey. Like he played on the Turkish server, and you could just take talent out of Challenger League who was just as good. Like Caps got solo killed in Challenger about 6 or 7 times. You know, he's not. He wasn't great in Challenger League, and then he went to Turkey and did
He's
well
not
in
great
Turkey.
EU either, but
Yeah, he's not great in the EU. But, he's like a top 4, top 5 mid in the EU. Do you know what I mean?
he's alright.
But I just don't think EU teams are willing to commit as much to the leagues, bar really G2, Fnatic. Misfits commit quite a bit recently, and Splice do a nice behind the scenes series as well. So we do occasionally. I think what Rat would need to do is force the teams to make some sort of fucking content, like they have to do a franchise in the NA. Like Immortals is making contact right now with Worlds and stuff, and it's very enjoyable. And I wish more teams did stuff like that. Even AMAs of players and stuff like that is really nice. Like to get to know the players better, because you're sitting watching these guys on the screen. And what's the difference between watching like high level LCS, right, and just watching like a high level challenger game in Korea? You know what I mean? That sort of way. Like you can just watch different. It's the personality that makes it for me. And I feel like a lot of the issue as well is like EU analysts and people who actually make content for you don't drive the storylines themselves that well. Like some of the big storylines in the EU could have been like HGK versus Fnatic. You have Fevin versus Reckless, 2 old teammates, or you have the new guard versus the old guard, and Fevin versus 2 players who are really hyped. Baby Faker versus a guy who actually killed Faker. You have you have different. There's a bunch of different storylines in the EU that could have been done, but just nobody did for no reason. Like it just doesn't really make sense to me. That a lot of EU analysts and stuff don't make good use of these storylines in comparison to NA. Like if you look at the amount of writers and interviewers and stuff in NA, there's a significantly larger amount, and there's a lot more content for NA teams than there is for EU teams overall. And there's a lot more articles and such as well. I just think that teams in the EU are boring. They don't really make use of their players and the stuff that they have access to. And that's their own fault.
I think EU has a really big problem too of like the top 4 teams are liked and then no one likes the other teams at all. Like you never hear someone be like, "Oh man, I love Mysterious Monkeys," like or Nip, like
Yeah,
or even like Vitality, who've been in a split for 2 years or been in like the league for 2 years. You think they get like some sort of following now, but they have none. Like no
French
one cares.
French people like Vitality.
yeah. They
no one
only
else.
have French fans, so they one or more. But like that's one or more. But only have French fans. Mysterious. To be fair, Nip kind of shot themselves in the foot. Like,
Oh yeah.
They had that Fnatic Academy roster, and then who were pretty well liked, and then kind of bought Profit and bought Nagne and hired Nico Vapico. Like they kind of shot themselves in the foot. Mysterious Monkeys. Fuck, I don't know where they came from, honestly. Yeah, I can't mean that's
Yeah, they're from the German league.
They're very mysterious.
Like
We don't know
I'd never
anything
heard of
about
them.
I
Yeah.
couldn't even tell you what teams came like 5th and 6th. Like I don't even know if I'm Unicorns of Love.
That's
Wait.
because they have 2 groups.
Yeah, the 2 group system. And UOL, Jesus fuck that team. I don't know if anyone's seen the video of Romain
Yeah,
trying to
burning the shirt.
jersey. And then did anyone see Odawamne's spicy tweet?
Yeah.
Our
What did he
shirts
do?
don't burn unlike you in chaos, or something like that. It was so fucking sick.
Like how Rich, HTK Rich, got triggered over that video.
Oh yeah,
Clown.
that guy gets triggered over everything, dude.
Yeah.
Like he probably gets triggered whenever he sees his fucking bank account's 5.5k and he just has flashbacks as I'm scaring for fuck's sake.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think other than like it, like I find that EU's are really like I only like good teams, and like when Fnatic had like their bad year last year, which is like honestly like not even like really that like they still made playoffs, right? They just didn't make worlds.
I think so. Yeah.
They had so many people leave their like following. They're like, screw this team, they're awful. Like How can you do that after a team you've been following since like they dominated EU LCS for so long? Like them, Gambit, and then SK were like the top 3 teams for like 2 years, and then Fnatic just went on to dominate. And Fnatic was like probably one of the best teams ever in season 5. Like, and then they're just
Because they had such a high and hit such a low so quick. If you know what I mean, it's kind of.
so like your team's clearly capable of doing it. I don't see the point in abandoning like that, and that's like the biggest problem I have with like EU LCS as a whole is like they're just super flaky. Like Origin fans, like Origin came same place as Fnatic, and then they have one bad year and everyone's like this team's a joke and like all this stuff, and then like
To be fair,
they did really bad, but if you would you not like want to try and support your team and like if you
to be fair, Origin has an insane amount of support in Spain. Like it's pretty insane. It's just a lot of the English-speaking fans and like Reddit and stuff are very flaky on which teams to support and how long will stay supported of them. But like the Spanish fans are fucking insane. Like, see, have you ever tried posting a negative tweet about OG out of that? Jesus fuck.
I don't really post negative things on Twitter or whatever, but it just seems like if you're not top team in Europe, like you're not top 4, then no one cares about you at all. Like
I figured. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Like even Misfits last year, like they had last split, they had like Kakao. It's like, oh, these teams are pretty cool, and Misfits had no fans. And as soon as they became like a bit better and they got like they placed a little bit higher with Maxler, everyone's like, oh man, I like Misfits. It's like, why? They just kicked like one of the best junglers of all time, picked somebody else, just because they're doing better. Like it doesn't make sense to me. It's such a
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's like a mob mentality almost.
European fans have a very big bias towards teams of European players over import players because they feel superior European talent. Low, why would we import? You know, we have greatest region in the world. We're pretty centric on using their own talent.
You got Broxa, nice.
Yeah, great jungler, you know. People got right pissed at Fnatic because of our management decisions in that season, like picking up Gamsu and Spirit, then benching Gamsu mid-split for Kickus, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they benched Noxiac as well.
And Naziak as well. They had like, then had Klein and had Yellowstar again, and then like, you know, Party Princess was doing pretty well at the end of the script. You know, like, give him a break, dude. You know, and then they came back with Yellowstar, and all this hype was about them, and then they just don't fix their problems and just get smashed. And you know, it kind of demoralized a lot of Fnatic fans. Like, can the management really be this autistic? You know, that's in a way. Like personally, I was a bit fucking like as a Fnatic fan, then I was quite tilted. Like I like G2 better now because I like Perks. I think Perks is fucking hilarious, and I was playing Trick is fucking Trick's a given meme, and Expect I don't even know what he does. Like he's just a fucking ape. Like, but it's so entertaining. It's just so entertaining to watch. And then I look at Fnatic, he has Reckless, and it's just like, so you're Reckless, mate. Like, congratulations, you were good maybe 2 years ago, and this year you're having a comeback, you know. And then you cry on stage, like, come on, give me some. Like, Sven dances on fucking stage. You know? Sven dances like a monkey. Managed to piss off like half of Spain in one roster move, and like, you know, it's a bit more entertaining for me. So yeah, I just think like, EU players themselves don't always do themselves a lot of justice, and I don't think the organisations do either. So, and European fans as well are, you know, pretty XD. I'm not gonna lie. Like, you should have seen the Fnatic Discord whenever Fnatic lost to fucking Vietnamese. That was a pretty big experience. Fnatic aren't going to get in the groups. We're done. We can't win. Like, this is it. This is over, guys. Like, we should all go vote for G2. And you're just like, calm the fuck down. Like, you lost one best of one. And they made the ultimate mistake of finding the Vietnamese in their jungle. You know, like, it's just, oh, I don't know. European teams, man. European teams.
Yeah, so I don't think you can succeed with that type of player base. I think something needs to change. I don't know if HCK is right, but I think something does need to be worked on.
I said I look forward to our new UK League overlords, you know.
They need to get best of ones to really be a top team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I'll move on to our final topic of the night, which is
Oh boy.
pretty relevant. It is Riot Hero versus Tyler One.
Oh my hero.
It's the new UFC doc that's out this week. New card. But actually, so last night at actually it's like this morning for me, like 5 a.m. He posted on the League of Legends Discord that, let me get the exact quote here, sorry, that Tyler One looks like a damn homunculus, and honestly, it's fine. He'll die from a coke overdose or testicular cancer from all the steroids. Then we'll be Gucci. That's like a serious. He was meaning it. And he's like, oh yeah, don't mean to stand for the company on that, but I have my Riot tag right here. So
As well, it's just the fact he tried to blame Reddit for it immediately after. Like, the man is like the living stages of denial. Like, he flames Terror One Discord, right? Then apparently like, a bunch of YouTubers got kicked from the Discord as well, over something related to that. I was seeing on Twitter. Then he says, "Oh, it's community's fault, for him losing his job or getting in trouble at his job," and then he has the fucking just audacity to say, "Oh, but it was my own personal opinion, not Rat's opinion." And then he goes on and says, "How Tiger One made his life a living hell," and you're just like, "Oh, come on, God, should calm your fucking tits." You know what I mean? Just say your account got hacked or some shit. You know what I mean? Don't try to admit to Reddit that you did wrong. That's like your number one mistake.
I mean, like, why was he posting that in the subreddit Discord? Like, that's, I don't know. You're like asking to fucking commit like Reddit suicide there in the first place.
Like, someone made a joke about how they're not gonna go to live events anymore because they can't have a free Tyler One sign, and then this guy got like mega triggered.
Sarah says that had started.
All right. Well, I mean, the whole entire like Tyler One situation is just like interesting to see how it pans out, because it starts out with Tyler, that one video on Tyler fucking shooting up to the front page, and everyone's just flaming him on stream, and then he just like turns it into a meme and runs with it for like 2 years now, 3 years?
Yeah.
And now like everyone's like, he's so reformed, and like, yeah, he keeps getting accounts banned, but like, I don't know, like first of all, he was banned by Riot Light, which in March there was a huge scandal how Riot Light cheated on his fiance
that was so good.
Her ex-girlfriend or fiance or whatever wrote like this huge twit longer about how he was manipulative and how he completely was delusional and mistreating and like would legit like fuck with her mind to make her feel bad, and she had like a lot of mental health issues because of that relationship. And so we know now, we get a first-hand account that I don't think Riot Light is there anymore.
No, he's not.
And yeah, he's not there anymore, and all of a sudden the whole I don't know why that wasn't open to debate to begin with, because we don't know if Tyler One's running around the Rift still like calling like people like telling like saying kill yourself and shit like that. Like we have no proof, but like people are saying and marketing that he is becoming better. And now we have this, and it's like the tides have fucking turned, because afterwards Tyler One tweeted out, he's like, yeah, people say stupid shit, like no hard feelings. It's just like, all right, well, here's your next stream's gonna get 100K views when you finally are able to stream League again. Like, this guy's gonna be the king of Twitch now. He's gonna be the shroud of League of Legends. So
as well as that, he was on PewDiePie's show. What is it, Beyond the Rift?
Beyond the Rift.
Yeah,
and
that show too.
PewDiePie was hitting him pretty hard with some of the questions, and he was pretty straightforward and honest, like with like out of his BM and shit, what happened. And like, I think it sort of gave a in-depth look at like what actually happened. From according to a lot of pros and stuff, he actually is reformed, if you know what I mean. A lot of the pros and people in Challenger would say is reformed, but like, it's just a case of Incarnation was doing much worse, and DDoS and then was one of probably the most toxic players in a solo queue for such a long period of time. and nothing was done about it for so long until he eventually started DDoSing people. Riot just didn't give a fuck. So yeah, even with a Riot Lite thing, that sort of doesn't help, if you know what I mean. And then this guy as well, adding more to that, how toxic is the Riot staff internally, if you know what I mean, is what it sort of leads into. I mean, there was a case a couple of months ago about one of the champion designers being like an actual cuck. So he was.
He got hacked.
Was he hacked?
I don't know if it's the same incident, but I know one guy was like calling EU East players poor trash on like the forums, and then he came out and was like, "No, I just got hacked. It wasn't me."
No, there was one post on Twitter, like it may have been Daniel Kaplan, like about like using a cuck.
Yeah, he's a SJW pretty hard.
Yeah, an SJW, and like that quite triggered a lot of fucking people. So it did. It was just like, what the fuck, Rat? What kind of people are you hiring? And then there was obviously Monte Cristo's thing of how autistic Rat esports department is in NA. So there's not a lot of good press that comes out about Rad internally. And you had the thing with Crepo as well, you know, like Rad know how to pick him, you know.
Hey man, it's not Rad's fault. He wanted some pussy. Come
on. Dude, he should have went to Rat, you know what I mean? The ultimate ego scaredy, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I said, like you're the guy. I don't know what was going through his head. Like I don't know how much coke he's getting, fucking Rat, to be able to like push shit like this on then. But it was not wise. He just fucked himself up, honestly. Like and then do it. One of the best part is the fact is obviously Radders will never talk to people. Like mate, you're not talking to someone. You're just saying to this guy who's already very controversial. You know, you like you know, whatever the fuck he said. It's just dumb.
Yeah, it's literally, it boggles my mind, unless he was actually trying to fucking he was sacrificing himself for Tyler 1's freedom, you know? The ultimate sacrifice.
Or the ultimate conspiracy, it's a bit away from best of ones in NA, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, that Tyler 1 post was on the front page of all. Like, whenever I checked it today, like 11k upvotes.
It was there in less than an hour, too.
Yeah,
let's arm ourselves with our tinfoiled hats.
Oh yeah. Let's go. You know, he's gonna win Worlds next year because another person will come out and flame an EU pro and you'll get a free buy into the 70s. And they'll get drawn Western.
Riot secretly is planning for TSM to win Worlds.
Oh yeah.
There we go.
That's why the best of ones are coming in. You know,
exactly.
There'll be best of one playoffs soon. Best of one finals.
Never forget. Never forget. Season 3 Worlds, Fnatic vs Cloud9. Ban the Cassidy.
It's all been a huge bait, you know. It's been set up from Rad all along. WF said in this video, you know, he wants to be remembered as one of the first NA pros to win Worlds. Now we know how he's going to do it, boys. Tyler 1's going to get unbanned and a match.
Why did they do it on Sneaky, huh? You know, Sneaky's been along.
Yeah, exactly.
Huh? Yeah, dude, it's confirmed.
Oh, I tell you something, you'll be 10-5 hats are great, you know. Keep your head nice and warm. Safe from rad UFO positivity beams.
We should have like an Alex Jones of esports. Yeah,
that would be amazing. I would watch this.
Let's get Keemstar involved. Let's throw him in.
Can we get Amazing involved as well? Like Amazing.
Sure, why not? The more the merrier.
Because Amazing is just so deluded. Like
if they only won that one game, they would have won Worlds. 100%.
Exactly. You know. Oh, I don't know this. Did anyone see Amazing's AMA, by the way?
I read it like 20 minutes in, so he didn't have any questions.
He started answering now, so he has. It's gonna be fucking good, so it is.
I saw the part where he said TSM was the best team he's ever played on.
Did he?
Yeah. He said Origin was his favorite team, but TSM was like the best.
Did anyone see Forgiven's tweet that Origin was a mistake, by the way? Or in his AMA, sorry? Origin was his worst mistake.
Just like before we kind of go away from the Tyler 1 thing, I think the only thing Riot can do is unban him after this.
Yeah,
I mean, it's stupid to even have a player permaban for something that, like, wasn't the whole in perspective. Like, it was stupid to even like ban him in the first place, and the fact that they never did anything about it afterwards, even when the circumstances were different, was fucking dumb.
Yeah. So
I think that Riot's gonna fire this guy. I don't think they can do anything else.
No,
Like
but-
Riot,
Suspended leave or whatever is gonna end up.
like because Riot is a company that's always like anti-toxicity and shit, like going pretty hard on that subject. And then if you have this guy who told someone to get cancer and to like die of coke binging or whatever, and it's kind of hypocritical. So I think he's definitely gonna have to be fired. Otherwise, the Riot's gonna have a bit of a PR shitstorm on their hands.
also called him a homunculus.
I mean that's true. Let's be fair. Kind of
Yeah.
does look like one.
Yeah.
He's
Looks like a thumb.
he looks like you watch Fullmetal Alchemist.
Yeah.
He looks like gluten. His arms, they dress the same. They're like, yeah, I don't know. I think they're gonna.
Oh, amazing! Confirming the escape group as well. You know.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Oh, did he
Cool.
really? Wow.
yep. He just said that he was worst teammates among the two in terms of discussions over depths of hybrid interactions in the escape group were unknown by them. Oh, goodness, spicy. Amazing's popping out. You know.
Yeah, he's trying to be relevant.
Yeah, he's trying to get himself on the team.
I don't think any team's gonna pick him up really. Well, maybe now that he's gonna be like 50 leagues.
Yeah, I think he could make it on a lower tier teams. He could be like a coach or something. He could be like a jungle positional coach too.
I like there was like one question which asked him like, why did you go from like being a top tier jungler to a mediocre jungler? He said, I don't know. I'm like, oh, that's great. It's very comforting to hear if you don't know what's wrong with your play.
Probably a very varying amount of issues.
Oh, oh, this is actually spicy as fuck. He's going into detail about why he's benched on Fnatic and shit. Corrupt
Oh.
staff, corrupt coaching staff at hand.
Was that Nico de Pico or?
Yeah,
Nico
it was
Pico,
it
yeah.
was Nico the Pico. He likes Nico the Pico. They're best friends.
And he was also talking about like he like referenced something like that a lot earlier, like right after the season, right? Something like
Yeah.
he like made a long Facebook post about the difficulty of like getting authority as a coach or something like that, and it was like thought provoking and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't know. It's like one of those things where maybe you keep that on on the down low or something, or just not fucking try to, project what else is wrong with the world when, you're not doing too hot yourself.
Apparently,
who knows?
according to him, he hates Nico now, you know, so we're on that point now. He's past him, he doesn't like him anymore, you know. Jesus, this is gonna be a fucking good day, man. I'm definitely getting the top turnout from this one, like. So it is. Apparently, wasn't him, you know. Enforced work of Jens, our mental coach, 6 hours a week, while everyone else didn't, overworking me in order to fix my attitude. And last but not least, have Caps and him talk behind my back about their issues, basically forcing my back against the wall. Damn, this is. Whew. He'll be amazing. Holy shit.
Amazing said he was the second best jungler to ever play on TSM too.
I mean,
And he
I
lists
guess.
Sven twice. He goes season 6 Sven, me, season 7 Sven.
I mean, who else? You have Centaur and the odd one. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not hard competition to beat.
Yeah, they've never really had crazy junglers, but that was kind of our last topic. I think we should wrap up. Any
Yeah,
questions
yeah.
that are just going to be put in the Discord, we'll be quick to answer, and then we'll be back probably next week after the first week of groups, and do just maybe a shorter podcast, talk about how we thought the first week of groups went,
Yeah.
what we think teams need to work on for the next week, and who we were impressed with, who we were disappointed in, and we'll go back to our pick'ems and see how far away these guys were and how right I was. I mean,
From where I come.
Thinking.
thinking emoji.
5-1. 5-1, boys. 5-1. For the ultimate weapon. No one can stop him.
Why would DDG have Koro when it can get big Koro?
Oh,
Big-
true. Why would you want Koro 1 when you got big Koro?
Big. Oh, yeah, big. And classic. Jesus. Yeah, I don't think we'll have any questions. I think, you know, for our fucking 3 viewers who are, pretty sure
Us.
one of me.
It's
I'm
yeah,
pretty
it's
sure
us
we're
and then Lush.
Lush is here too, you know.
Yeah, coming.
He's
strong.
loyal.
Yeah,
You're loyal.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's,
you're loyal,
it's
so
strange
we're-
having loyal mods. What?
Fucking Germans, dude. German efficiency, you know what I mean? Look at this guy, fucking trooper, staying up to 3 a.m., you know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for following this week's podcast, and we'll look forward to see you guys next week. Thanks for joining us, AJ.
Thank you.
Yep. It was a
Thank you.
blast.
Cool. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.